Coming up on 5 Minute News. Supreme Court rules against affirmative action in US universities. Prosecutors preparing to serve Trump and his allies with dozens of new charges. And third night of riots in France after police shoot teen. It's Friday, June 30. I'm Anthony Davis. The US Supreme Court, driven by its white nationalist Christian conservative supermajority, ended race-conscious admissions at universities across the country yesterday, throwing out decades of precedent in American life and delivering a huge blow to the cause of greater student diversity on campuses. The Republican justices concluded that admissions policies at Harvard University and the University of North Carolina violated the U.S. Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. This effectively prohibits the use of affirmative action policies in the U.S. that acted as a tipping point, among many other admissions factors, to raise the number of Black, Hispanic, and other underrepresented minority students at selective U.S. higher education colleges and universities. The 6 radicalized Republican justices on the 9-strong court prevailed over the 3 liberal-leaning justices, with the newest member and first Black woman on the court, Ketanji Brown Jackson, issuing a stark dissent, saying the ruling meant it would take longer for racism to leave us. Joe Biden said he was considering executive action and will ask the Department of Education to look into ways to maintain diversity in university student bodies. The US president said this is not a normal court of the bench, which has swung far to the right with the appointment of 3 right-wing Christian nationalist justices during Donald Trump's presidency, giving it a 6-3 conservative supermajority. Speaking at the White House, Biden said, "Discrimination still exists in America. Today's decision does not change that. It's a simple fact." Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez tweeted, "If SCOTUS was serious about their ludicrous colorblindness claims, they would have abolished legacy admissions, aka affirmative action, for the privileged." The Department of Justice is prepared to seek indictments against multiple figures in former President Donald Trump's orbit and may yet bring additional charges against the ex-president in the coming weeks. The department has made preparations to bring what is known as a superseding indictment, a second set of charges against an already indicted defendant that could include more serious crimes against the ex-president in the Southern District of Florida. But prosecutors may also choose to bring additional charges against Mr. Trump in a different venue, depending on how they feel the case they have brought against him is proceeding. Prosecutors' decisions on whether to seek additional charges from a grand jury and where to seek them will depend in part on whether they feel the Trump-appointed district judge overseeing the case against him in the Southern District of Florida, Eileen Cannon, is giving undue deference to the twice-impeached, now twice-indicted former president. The team of federal prosecutors working under special counsel Jack Smith is currently prepared to add an additional 30 to 45 charges, in addition to the 37-count indictment brought against Mr. Trump on June 8, either in a superseding indictment in the same Florida court or in a different federal judicial district. In either case, they would do so by using evidence against the ex-president that has not yet been publicly acknowledged by the department, including other recordings prosecutors have obtained which reveal Mr. Trump making incriminating statements. Additionally, it's understood that Mr. Smith's team is ready to bring charges against several of the attorneys who have worked for Trump, including those who aided the ex-president in his push to ignore the will of voters and remain in the White House despite having lost the 2020 election. One of those figures is Mr. Trump's erstwhile personal attorney, disgraced former New York City Mayor Rudy Giuliani. Mr. Giuliani, whose law license was suspended in New York and Washington as a result of his allegedly making multiple false representations while seeking to help Trump overturn his 2020 election loss to Joe Biden, reportedly participated in a voluntary interview with prosecutors working under the supervision of Mr. Smith, the Justice Department's special counsel, whose office brought charges against Trump earlier this month. France has seen unrest spread to major cities in a third night of riots on Thursday as President Emmanuel Macron fought to contain a mounting crisis triggered by the deadly police shooting of a teenager of Algerian and Moroccan descent during a traffic stop. 40,000 police officers were deployed across France, nearly 4 times the numbers mobilized on Wednesday, but there were few signs that government appeals to de-escalate the violence would quell the widespread anger. In Nanterre, the working-class town on the western outskirts of Paris, where 17-year-old Nahel M. was shot dead on Tuesday, protesters torched cars, barricaded streets and hurled projectiles at police, following a peaceful vigil. And as night set, a bank was lit on fire before firefighters put it out and an elite police unit deployed an armoured vehicle. Videos on social media showed numerous fires across the country, including at a bus depot in a suburb north of Paris and a tram in the eastern city of Lyon. In Marseille, France's second city, police fired tear gas grenades during clashes with youths in a tourist hotspot. The incident has fed long-standing complaints of police violence and systemic racism inside law enforcement agencies from rights groups and within the low-income, racially mixed suburbs around major cities in France. The local prosecutor said the officer involved had been put under formal investigation over voluntary homicide and will be held in prison in preventative detention. 5-Minute News is an Evergreen podcast covering politics, inequality, health and climate, delivering independent, unbiased and essential world news daily.